And so we have the second webinar with the custom photo props, a very interesting company, an industry that I didn't know existed. So when the first time we spoke with Gary about custom photo props, I was like, what is it? I mean, does it even a thing? I mean, is it even a thing? Turns out it is actually a very vibrant, viable, big industry. And custom photo props is one of the main players here. So it's a unique industry in the sense that it's not dominated by one huge corporation. It's a collection of literally thousands, I assume, right? Smaller companies that many of them are literally like one-man operations. And but yet they have a huge revenue industry-wide. And custom photo props is actually being relatively small in general size, in nominal size. It's actually one of the bigger players compared to other players in this industry. And so we had the first webinar a few weeks ago, so where we specifically talked about the industry, but I think it would be appropriate if we asked our presenter to talk a little bit about the industry and the company just a few minutes, so that those who are here for the first time, so that they know what we're dealing with. Can we just briefly overview your business model, your company history, products, and then we'll go more into the feedback questions and answers. Would that be okay?
So as you had stated, our industry is very large, or at least I consider it very large, where there's so many people that don't even understand or realize what photo props are, that there's thousands of companies out there. One thing that we've done to have our company stand apart from others is market ourselves as a vegan company. And with that being said, we do donate a portion of all of our sales to animal rescues, and we try to promote the importance of using animal-friendly products to our customers. Though when we've been doing this for probably about 2 years, because the main product that we sell is faux fur, vegan fur, and our competitors, a lot of them sell real animal fur, which does have a very beautiful look to it, and it's different than what we have. However, we're not really sure if we're marketing to the right demographic, so to speak, because like when we had done a customer survey, and that the majority of people actually said that they buy our products because of the fact that they're machine washable and they're more affordable. So that's something that I'm not sure if we're really going down the right path with that. And it does cause an issue with trying to source products.
Yes, can you maybe tell just a little bit more about then what exactly your company does, and maybe a little bit about the history and the types of products, and it's, as I said, it's a fascinating industry, and I suspect many people have no idea what these companies actually do, who the clients are, what exactly do you sell?
Yep, we design and manufacture newborn photo props for professional photographers around the world. Our primary customer base, though, is in the U.S., and then Canada, and then in Europe. And those markets are expanding internationally. We sell products such as faux furs, baby swaddling wraps, headbands, clothing that the babies wear, buckets, bowls that the babies go in. And we even had branched off and had manufactured a furniture line for babies. And this is all just for photography purposes. These products aren't to be used as everyday products unless you were to repurpose it. There's just could potentially be a safety issue with like little beads that are on the headbands or the functionality for long-term use.
So it's basically when somebody wants to have a photo session and have nice props, make those photos look good, so they buy those props just specifically for the photography session, right?
Yes, yep. And the photographer too, once they do purchase it and make that investment, they'll keep it for many, many years until they tire of it and want a new style. Right. So it's not something they use once or they don't give it to the parents after the shoot.
So most of the clients, I assume, are professional photographers, right? It's not individuals. Yeah.
Yes, I estimate about in the high 90% range. And then probably, 8 to 10%, I would say, be parents or grandparents that are taking photos of their own baby or grandchild.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And one question that just came by email, something we didn't touch upon last time. So your products are not cheap. So you have a bunch of reasons for the higher prices, from the materials that you use to the quality, to the ethics, to the customer service. But somebody is asking, does it also mean that your products last longer? And even though the initial investment may be higher, over time, it's actually cheaper to buy higher quality goods?
Yes, that is true. Well, it would depend on who you're comparing us to. Like, I would like to consider us an average price point, where there's a lot of the companies where you said it's just a single owner base, somebody doing it as a hobby. They often have the really cheap prices and typically, not as good quality. And then there's other people, such as myself, that try to keep, a fair and honest price point. And then there's other also usually smaller companies that's more of a boutique style. It has a lot of handmade, or they have, they just really gone after the more expensive market. And with that, they've been able to really raise their prices, and basically people spend that because they're buying from, this ABC luxury company.
Right, makes perfect sense. Now, so perhaps let's get directly into some feedback, but I would like to, again, I see at this time we have about 23 students in attendance. So if any of you are in the early track, if you have spent the last few weeks trying to develop some solutions, if you would like to sort of get feedback on your work, on your ideas, simply raise your hand. You have a button at the bottom of the screen, and we will allow you to join the discussion, and you can literally just share, the ideas or perhaps concerns or maybe questions that you have and get some feedback. Until any of you volunteer to do that or express interest and engage in the conversation, what I'm going to do, in fact, I think I can share my screen here. I would like to look at the submissions that we already got from some teams. So as I said, every week the students are submitting the drafts. And so we sort of have drafts of the teams, whatever they have so far. And I thought it might be a good idea to take a quick look at some of them randomly selected. I just opened a couple of those files and look at the ideas that they already presented in those drafts. And it would be interesting to get some feedback on that. So let me go to this one. This one is a little bit more concise. So for example, when they analyzed the first challenge, or the first question was, how would you compare this company to the competition? Or, what are the strengths and weaknesses compared to the competition, as well as what are the opportunities and weaknesses, and threats. So do answers like this make sense to you, Carrie? Like, for example, when they look at the strength, they say your strengths are quality, good customer service, ethics, as well as this other team, for example, says you use vegan first, give back initiative. Nobody seems to be doing that. Free shipping on over $250 orders, apparently, again, something that not many do. Market to a niche market, newborn photography, and they see that as a strength. Good customer service, focus on quality, give customers the chance to receive discounts through email. Does that summary of the strength make sense to you?
Yes, there's one more thing that I would add, which would be that all of our products are custom made for our company. So a good 95% of our products nobody can find elsewhere, and we custom design it based on the colors that photographers are currently using or products that they're searching out.
Okay. Now, how about weaknesses? So one team says that they feel your marketing strategy is not as strong as it could be, and hopefully with their help, they will provide some ideas. And this team has quite a lengthy list. So they say it's somewhat expensive compared to competition, relatively weak social media presence. Again, it'd be nice if they gave ideas how to do it better. Small employee team. Well, I personally would actually see that as a strength. Lean is better, but okay. Lacking an employee with e-commerce social media skills. I'm not sure if that is true, because you do have now someone who specifically works on media, right? You mentioned last time.
Correct, yes. In January, I hired a firm to take that over for us.
Yeah, from what I remember, this one is actually not true. It's the opposite. Same thing with the marketing and advertisement strategy. Again, in the previous webinar, we spoke about there is a dedicated person, and you had one, and then you switch to another one, and actually now you see much better statistics on your online marketing. So from my understanding, it is definitely better now than it used to be, at least. Limited products, does that even apply? I mean, like, what do they mean by that? Like, it seems to me that, first of all, you have a range of products, and second, again, would that be a strength if you had a, I don't know. I personally don't see that as necessarily weakness. Again, more focused, perhaps. Makes their products in-house, small production scale. So I don't know. No target population or any particular country where the company could focus in selling their product. Again, it seems to me that actually now it's pretty focused, and the goal is actually to expand instead of focus on one. Again, advertisement and promotion, expansion of the company in the limited safe zone, trying to enter into, I'm not even sure what that means, struggling in marketing, high brand image and brand value. So do any of these make sense to you? Are they fair? Anything else that you would call a weakness of your company?
I would say the bottom one sticks out to me with struggling to make a high brand image and brand value. I mean, we've definitely tapped into a good size of the market, but there's still a lot of people that don't know about us. we just went to a trade show, two of them, one in January, one in March, and or excuse me, February. I don't know when it is. And a lot of them, at least 50%, have never heard of us. So, but those aren't all just primary newborn photographers anyhow.
Right. Well, that seems to be also not necessarily a consequence of doing something wrong or not doing something. It's just a natural. I mean, there are many players, a big market. It would be strange if everybody knew about you. So I suppose it is perhaps a kind of weakness as a natural consequence of how the market works. But it seems to me, again, there is really not that much one can do about that too. So I mean, it would be nice to be known, but not necessarily easy. Lack of exposure, that's another one. How about opportunities? So let's take a look at this one. One team number 6, if I remember correctly, they say that they see a great opportunity in the growing vegan market and technology. I'm not sure what exactly they mean by that. And then this other team says that the opportunities are in growing on the market share in countries where the brand is already present and entering new markets. So currently growing where you are and entering new markets. It seems like 2 opportunities. More market share because there is a trend towards environmentally friendly and vegan products, similar to the previous team. Increase in millennials wanting to buy from companies that give back to the community, and they even cite some work here. And increase worldwide of consumers using e-commerce to shop. So do those seem like good opportunities to you? Anything else that you would identify as an opportunity that your company can ride in the nearest future?
I don't feel like any of that's any different than kind of what I already know, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Kind of obvious. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Threats. There was an interesting threat in this company. So they say imitation. They see that as a threat. And I believe last time we spoke a little bit about competition through like Amazon from the Asian countries. Competitors' pricing, again, potentially lower. And then taxes. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that. Maybe trade tariffs. So do those seem like viable threats to you?
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, again, these guys seem to have the same thing. So price and lower prices from competitors potentially could be a threat. International shipping rates are high, so I guess that's inevitable. But yes, if you want to sell overseas, I guess that will add to the price. Competition, growing competition from China, and competing with companies all over the world. So this business, they assume, and probably rightfully so, tends to be a little bit more local just because of the shipping cost. And so they see that as a threat. What would be your feedback on this list of threats?
I agree with all of it.
Yeah, so I wish they said something that we didn't know, but I guess that's the initial. So now going on, let me stop sharing the screen and let's go to the next question. Let me just quickly check if we have any questions. So those of you in the audience, if you have any questions, please go ahead. And we have actually Lori who wants to say something. Lori, I'm going to add you to our panel here. So if you would like to say something, you should be here. So Lori, if you would like to go ahead, ask a question, you are in the conference room now. Lori? Maybe she raised her hand a long time ago and changed her mind by now. Okay, if you want to talk, we will keep you in the... Lori, are you planning to say something? All right, okay, so let me go back to the challenges then. So when it comes to the market and selection and analysis, could you maybe share your assessment of your competition? So like who your biggest competitors are, what are the biggest threats and opportunities, and perhaps talking about the market. So where do you see the biggest growth opportunities?
Well, I guess as far as the biggest threat, so to speak, is I briefly mentioned the issue with sourcing products and with us staying vegan. The natural photography and the natural based products, not synthetic, and like I said, animal wools, pelts, fibers, like wool roving and that, these little balls that people use, those are extremely popular right now, and it's not something that we're carrying because of the fact that we're trying not to carry any animal based products. So trying to source other alternatives to that aren't going to have shine, are going to be natural and stuff, that's definitely a struggle. That was something I was actually working on this morning, just trying to find alternative products that people are going to jump on and love with the texture and everything. And what were the other questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, basically, so who your biggest competitors are and what market do you think will be the fastest growing market, or where do you see the greatest potential as far as expanding into new markets?
That's something that I've struggled with, expanding into new markets. And that's one reason that I feel like I'm stuck, is because I just keep staying in the photography and baby industry. One thing that I would love someone to look into is expanding into like the home decor sector and creating basically any products that could use our fur and capitalize on that. For example, fur throws, ottoman covers that go on little footstools, perhaps like vests that little girls wear, like fur boot covers, things like that. That's one thing that we really love developing and working with, is the fur. So I'd like to expand on that, but it's also scary territory to get into, and I don't know what my competition is going to be like and how hard it's going to be to find customers and whatnot.
Here is a question from Rhea Williams from Grenada. She's asking, have you thought about developing products for everyday use to tap into that market and not just for props?
On that, I feel I'd have to sell at the same price point that I'm at now, which I guess in the home decor line or home use line or fashion industry or whatnot, that would be on more high scale. For an example, if we were to sell our headbands for everyday use for babies, a mom is used to purchasing a headband at $3-4 from Walmart, Target, wherever, where ours are priced, relatively at $15. There's much higher margins in the photography industry than there is, for general public use products.
Yeah, I think for the general public use, you would have to have the economies of scale. I mean, the only way to survive, you have to make thousands of copies, right?
Exactly.
So
and
it's a whole
as of now, we
different type
wouldn't
of
have the space
production.
in the car.
Yeah, it seems to me that it would be a whole different game. It's like a completely.
And even with swaddling baby wraps and stuff, I've kind of thought, how could I get our products like into a hospital per se, where they're using them on new babies and whatnot. But then with that too, they're going to want, they're used to buying from overseas, I'm sure, at $1 a wrap, and there's no way we could compete with those prices.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So the next set of questions dealt with marketing. And so I'm looking here at the submissions that we had in terms of the promotion channels. Pretty much all companies believe that your future is in online promotion. And so looking at different teams, in fact, let me share the screen so you can also see what we have here. So pretty much all the focus in terms of the promotion channels is on online. So they say that you should be using more Facebook, Instagram, already you have that, Pinterest, Google Ads. They do mention, like, for example, expos, expos for photographers, email blast, flyers at local stores, that's not online, YouTube, and perhaps even agents. So I don't know, maybe let's quickly comment on all of those. So Facebook, you already use that a lot, right? Don't you?
Yeah, we use Facebook a lot. We use Instagram quite a bit.
Right.
Pinterest is something we need to increase our use of, and definitely YouTube. I would need to find a videographer who could take great videos for us, but I think we could definitely advance with YouTube
Right.
and having product videos.
Are you trying to use Google AdWords?
No, we did try that before, and we didn't really see much traction, but when you use the most key terms for newborn photo props and the products that we sell, we do rank good in Google. So
So already without even paid advertisement. I think last time, didn't you mention, or did I read it somewhere else, that for products like this one, the new Google is Amazon. So when people want to find something, they don't Google it, they go to Amazon, type the product name, and just see what pops up. Right. So it seems like it's not exactly. How about expos? Do you ever go to like professional expos, and did it work to you, for you in the past, or are you planning to use it more in the future?
that helps get our name out there. There's really three large ones in the US where it's worth it for us to go financially. And I just got back from the two. The other one, the expenses are just so high, and it's not a huge demographic for newborn photographers. So we had stopped going to that one. And then there's statewide conventions for photographers, but then also breaking down that market into just newborn photographers. When there's only 150 people going, I'm going to hit maybe 10, 15 newborn photographers in there. So financially, it's just not the best choice.
Right, right. How about email blasts? And I actually read a little bit more in the comments here in this report. So they actually seem to have an interesting idea. First of all, they say that your decision makers, people who make the purchasing decisions, are photographers. And they are relatively easy to identify. You can literally just Google, they all have a page, they all have a website. And so you just literally just find all the photographers who photograph babies on, you find them online and you get their contacts. There is always a form. And so the suggestion is perhaps just direct mailing, either by mail or by email, to those people. So you can literally get a complete comprehensive list of all potential customers, and they all provide contacts online because they would like to be booked as photographers. There was another team that even said that maybe you should use the psychology and offer them little gifts, perhaps, so that, kind of entice the sense of reciprocity. Maybe send them a little gift or a little sample or something else and see how they respond. Have you tried any of that?
We thought about the sending samples thing, and maybe twice throughout our history we've done that. And I didn't have a way to track it actually though, but customers love being able to get samples to see the quality. And typically, like when we go to trade shows and whatnot and we have, products there, everybody's always so amazed at our quality and they're just very impressed. So I think that's something that we should look into definitely doing again is something to deliver, samples to potential customers.
Yeah, my only concern personally would be, I imagine that would be quite expensive if you have to mail it, right? Not
Right.
only the samples themselves, but the shipping can also add like $5, $10 depending on the weight, and it can add up to a total cost.
That's why I'd have to think of something, I guess, where they're not necessarily free samples. They're free samples, but you have to pay shipping, so to speak. So people might still be willing to do that.
Uh-huh. How about flyers at local stores? So since you operate, let's say, even if it's only the United States, even if we don't go overseas, I mean, we are talking about, like stores all around the country. I mean, so when they say flyers at the local stores, it seems like a good idea, but I mean, who's going to put them up? I mean, you literally have to have people on the ground to go and put it up. So, I mean, do you think it's even a viable option, or it seems to me like it's something that would be very hard to do?
Yes, that'd be very difficult. And also, what type of store, and with photography being such a niche, especially newborn photography, I don't feel like it'd be seen by very many people in that market.
Right, right. And again, stores ideally would probably want to focus on the actual potential buyers, whereas a chance that a photographer walks into a local store, I mean, unless it's some sort of like a photography store, but even that, I assume most of them buy their equipment online. So I'm not sure if it would be, a good place to catch them. Finally, agents or hired person, literally, again, people who will be, spreading the word and awareness and selling the products locally. Would that be viable? I mean, again, it seems to me like it may be quite expensive to hire those people unless you find people who work for multiple companies and they just take you as one of the clients. And so they would be selling all kinds of things, including your product. Mm-hmm. So do you think, have you thought about that? Do you think it's a viable strategy at all?
I think if I'm interpreting that correctly too, that would be very difficult. I'd understand brand ambassadors, I guess, which is kind of what we have in a sense, where we work with a select number of photographers and then they promote on social media our products and also use our products in their sessions. But we probably definitely increase the number of ambassadors that we have.
Yeah, with Xculture Kids, we just launched for the first time the children's track of Xculture. And so our initial idea was that we would use regional representatives, sort of like sales agents in different cities who would literally go school to school, parent to parent, and talk about the product. And so we hired about 40 people in different cities all around the planet. And that's exactly what they did. But then the challenge is that it's very expensive. Not only expensive in terms of the time and the money you have to pay for that time, but also how many people can they visit a day? I mean, maybe a school, maybe a couple of schools, maybe a couple of individuals. And it's, it still costs money, but it's a fairly low rate reach. And what we found is that it's cheaper literally just to have Facebook advertisement. For $10, you can show you to like 2,000 people. For $100, you can literally reach audiences in hundreds of thousands. And while the response rate is fairly low, it's like, maybe 3% only respond and click on the website. And of those, only a small percentage actually then converts and signs up. But it seems like it's not only much cheaper in terms of the actual money, but also administrative costs. So once you have people around the planet, it's so much questions, answers, business cards, accounts, contracts, payments, which is again a huge hassle, paying overseas. Whereas with Facebook, you just place the ad, you choose your audience, 5 minutes, boom, done. So basically out. So I kind of suspect it would be the same issue for you. So given that the scale is not quite the same as, a huge company with thousands of sales every day or millions of sales every day, something's telling me that the sales agents will be too costly, too administratively difficult, and the return may not necessarily be there. Right. All right. So any other questions, students? So I see we have a few people who are raising. Laura, you're still here. I see your hand is still raised. Did you want to ask a question?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. When you first added me to be able to ask a question, my computer had froze, so I wasn't able to.
No problem.
My question is, a few of us from Nassau College are trying to we're doing entering into the vegan market. So we were just wondering, you say that your products are very vegan based, and we were just wondering what the specific ingredients are in the burrs. We just noticed that a lot of companies have a list of ingredients like Amazon and such. So we're just wondering if you had a list.
Oh, on Amazon, I believe it's required that they list that. Or, it's obviously could potentially be beneficial to sale if somebody's worried about an allergy, but ours are all man-made fibers, acrylics.
So when you say vegan, what exactly, I thought it applies only to food, doesn't it?
No, it could be actually anything animal-based. So, as I had said, for an example, if somebody's wearing a fur coat, it's either animal-based out of a real animal wool hide, or it's made of artificial man-made fibers such as ours, which could either be called artificial, faux, or vegan fur.
Interesting. Yeah. So again, something new to me. So I know that the organic food market is growing really fast, and apparently people do care about that stuff. So I assume that would generalize also to custom photo props as well. So. All right. A few more questions that just came by email, and also looking at the feedback, at the submissions from the teams. They're asking about, what is your message? How are you trying to present yourself now to the customers? So in your advertisement, are you simply showing a picture of the product, or there is a specific message that you're trying to convey to the potential customers?
Well, typically we show our products in use in a photography session. And then, though we don't do it often enough, we usually try to send the message that our product is quality, it's going to last for many years of use, vegan. Those are the primary points that we try to feature with our products. And we also try to throw in there too that they're exclusive to our company, though I think we could do a better job at mentioning how they're machine washable, because as I said, when we did the survey with our customers, that was one of the things that they absolutely love the most, is how easy they are to use, and then the quality as well.
A few more questions that come here about the market entry mode. First, are you open to establishing bigger presence in new markets than simply listing your products online and selling it there? In other words, are you open to the ideas of having either a local partner, or perhaps local representatives, or local retailers, or some other sort of physical presence on the ground, even if it's through intermediaries? Or are you only interested in shipping directly to the customers and not really being present in that market, physically or in some other more substantial form?
I prefer to ship it directly to the customer versus have a distributor for our products. If it were to be somebody that I knew that I could trust, I would like to have a distributor. Obviously, then our margins aren't going to be as high and everything, because they're going to be taking a cut of that. And for example, with us even just selling on Amazon, even though our sales have majorly decreased in there, the issue is when it's an item that's FBA, so when they're fulfilling a product for us and it's already in their warehouse, I guess they'll pretty much accept returns for anything and stuff, which then costs our company a lot of money when people are returning things after they use it and then we can't sell it and things of that nature. So ideally, I like to sell it myself, but I won't rule that out having a distributor or selling on another sales channel for sure.
Are products like this even sold at stores? Is it something that you can find a retailer for, or is it all online usually?
Yeah, it would be all online. The only thing I've seen before is, pieces of fur are sold, and that would be at like Joann Fabrics. I've seen little swatch pieces, maybe 6 inches by 6 inches, that they sell, and that's for craft purpose, or maybe a little bit larger to craft stores. As far as to sell for baby apparel, I only know of maybe 5 brick and mortar stores that sell photo props, that are also trying to sell not just for photo props but also for everyday use. So that would be extremely small.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, Juliet Angel is asking a couple of questions. She says, "I understand the vegan concept since we are talking about the environment, about being environmentally friendly. Are you open to change or mix that concept with some recyclable products, or change suppliers? Just a question to know if you feel confident on the cost of goods." So I'm not sure what this last part means. So recyclable products and change of suppliers. Not sure again what. Juliet, if you want to maybe clarify that, just join us directly so you can ask it. But let's talk a little bit more about this vegan and recyclable stuff.
Well, our products aren't, I wouldn't say they're environmentally friendly for sure, especially because they're made in factories, but they're animal friendly, which is, a difference. Somebody could say, okay, well, I want an animal-based product, an animal pelt, because it's environmentally friendly, or they could want our product because it's animal friendly. They're two totally different markets and reasons somebody could be purchasing from us or from another company.
Right. Juliet, I have added you to the panelists, so if you would like to ask a question in more detail, so you're right here, so just unmute your microphone.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Yes.
Hi.
Can you clarify the last part? So what exactly did you mean by that?
So I was just wondering, because I read your overview of the company, and I'm just wondering if have you thought about lowering your product price, because the competence is basically replacing quality, right, versus price, and maybe you could take advantage not of the quality, but maybe trying to find another suppliers or another I would say different type of environmental suppliers. For instance, if the vegan concept could be in this time very expensive for you, maybe a recyclable option could open you another market. I'm just trying to to know if that could be possible for you.
I feel like no matter how, if I were to stick with having the faux fur, artificial fur, I feel like my cost would relatively be the same whether I were to sacrifice. I could sacrifice quality and save a little bit of money, but it wouldn't be worth a whole lot. And that's obviously why customers go to us, is because they want a quality product. And as far as if we were to switch to, an animal-based product, our cost would be even more expensive, because that's more expensive than the alternative, which is like the vegan or the artificial fur.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you're in the total price, the cost of materials is probably not really that high. I guess the shipping, the manual labor, the advertisement.
Exactly.
So even if you switch to cheap products, it probably will lower the price like by 10, maybe even 20%, but it's not going to make a major impact on the total price. But will diminish the image. Yeah.
Right.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you want to go overseas, I know you said at the beginning you have your main market overseas in Europe and Canada. Have you thought maybe going probably in other markets, such as South America, that I'm not sure they really have this type of services, like the products that you sell? Have you go to this market, or have you thought about it?
I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said? The connection was cutting out a little bit, so I missed part of what you said.
Oh, I said you said at the beginning that your foreign markets is mainly Canada and Europe. I am correct?
But the main is U.S., and then as far as international is Canada and then Europe.
Yes, and have you thought maybe going to South America? Do you think it's more expensive, if it could be less expensive shipping there than probably in Europe or Canada.
That's something I haven't looked into. That could potentially be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you, Julia, if you think that there is a market there and, you can have some suggestions, I mean, that would be very interesting to take a look at. It is geographically closer. I'm not
Yeah.
saying.
Yes, that is why I was wondering, because like we have in Colombia like a very demanding market for photography, for video production, but I have never seen like a business like yours there, so this is why I'm kind of wondering if you have looked into South America. Probably they could be a good option for you. Plus I think my perspective, I think you are doing well in marketing, in terms of channel marketing and promoting, but I would say the branding concept should be like, you could work more on that. Because like when I look into your website, I was not really sure like it was vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like the concept and branding should be more focused on, like you want to highlight, you want to make this product differentiate from the other ones. And I think it's not really clear when I see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can say a couple of words about that, Juliet, but also other students. So over these years, I have read literally thousands of reports. So we have about 1,000 of them every semester. And one thing that I feel that teams do not do enough is provide actionable advice. So I do hear comments like, for example, what Juliet just said, I go to your website and I don't see this, or I don't see that, or, something's not clear. That is very useful to know. I mean, for an external person to, take a look and comment, honestly and frankly, sometimes it's, maybe hurts a little bit, but it's useful. But where teams kind of fall short, and where I see an opportunity for you, the students, if after that you could say, and here is what you need to do, here is an example, here is, for example, what I would say, here is a wording or picture or concept. So pointing out an issue, that's helpful. As I said, it's already much appreciated, but I don't understand why sometimes teams don't take that as an opportunity to actually provide actionable, real advice supported by examples, by like literally give a step-by-step guidelines. This is what you need to do. 1, do this. 2, do this. Maybe some of that will be irrelevant. Maybe some of that the company will not like. But if you do that, first of all, it will be much more useful for the company. But also that's your chance to impress the client and actually show them something that, perhaps they don't know. So it's not to criticize it, as I said, as you guys will be working on that, try to literally, provide as much detail as possible. Not only, for example, the example that I just gave you, but also, for example, many of you will say, advertise on Facebook, advertise on Instagram. Well, why don't you actually provide, more details as to how to place an ad there, what audience you should target, like literally give a list, what that ad might look like. Give something that the company literally can take and follow. And again, there is a good chance they will not like it and they will not use it, but at least that gives them a chance to actually do something about it. Because simply saying not enough here or not enough there, useful, but that's like 5% of what you as a team can do, and to impress the client and be useful to them. So Juliet, you're definitely thinking in the right direction, and you will have now 8 weeks to address that. So if you have, and apparently you do have some good ideas, make sure to include them. So that would be something that the company will appreciate.
Thank you.
Right. So we are running out of time, but I have a few more questions that came our way. So there is a bunch of questions. There are a bunch of questions. Oh, actually, I see. Oh, there is a whole bunch of questions in the Q&A. Let me read those, but there is one more that came by email. So one of the attendees is asking, good morning, have you ever thought about partnering and promoting a fellow vegan organization, as they can in turn promote your products with their organization? For example, with PETA. I know PETA has promoted a fashion show in the past with manufacturers who make vegan makeup products, and this in turn promotes their products and drives up their sales. I have no idea what PETA is, but apparently you Carrie know.
Yes, for PETA, I'm familiar with them. We actually did partner with them, so to speak, and that was in the past. And unfortunately, because it's kind of a controversial program or foundation that they have there, where I guess there was some videos that had surfaced where they supposedly, I guess, had inhumanely killed and overpopulated animals or whatnot. I don't know. So unfortunately we thought it was really going to help us, but we were getting a lot of people saying, I really can't believe that PETA's not good. I can't believe that you would, team up with them and this and that. As far as vegan organizations, I'm not familiar with a whole lot of them. So that'd be great if one of you guys wanted to look into that, if it is a huge industry area. There is one fashion designer actually that I was taking a course, and this female business owner had sent me an article in Forbes magazine where this woman used to work for some high-end designer, and she worked for him for many, many years as a designer and worked maybe as some lead role for the company. I don't really recall. And she ended up branching off on her own and started selling high-end coats, jackets, and all with vegan fur. And she had just stated that she didn't like how this company at the time was sourcing their furs for the jackets and whatnot. And, her jackets, I think she still sells them for, $10,000 for a fake fur coat. So that's somebody that I would absolutely love to team up with. And I did reach out to them before via, I think it was Instagram and then email. And of course, that's just an employee, whomever's handling the account, and I didn't get anywhere with that. If anybody wants to look that up,
right.
I could get you the information. I think I have it on my phone somewhere of what her name was. I think it was Anna something.
And again, I assume it's an opportunity for you students. So if you know anyone, or if you know where to find the contacts, and if you know what needs to be said and how to approach them, do provide that information. Especially, again, we have 5,000 of you, so I assume at least some of you just serendipitously, may know somebody. So if you have the contacts from your previous job or from some other, friends, do share those. Lee Santos asks a few questions, and I believe we actually answered them. So what is a typical customer like? Are they mostly professional photographers? And we talked about that. Yes, about 90%. Would you prefer to expand locally in the US, or would the country in Europe be feasible for your company? And we sort of talked about that. So I guess both US, but internationally, there are opportunities. Move there. There is an interesting question from Mingui Wang. So what should I type in Amazon to search for your product? Which one is yours?
You could type in either, if you want me specifically, you could probably type in custom photo props as one word and will come up. But I know if people use those in their back end keywords, other companies will show up. But the main search terms for products such as ours will be newborn photo props, baby photo props, newborn photography props, like newborn headband, faux fur, or like fur photo prop maybe. They're all really pretty much basic terms.
Right. Yeah. Well, there is one more question, and that one came up a couple of times in the past too, about pricing. And it's not so much about the pricing as the price point, but about a pricing strategy in general. So this time there is a price, I understand, and that price is charged, it's a fixed price. Have you thought, or would you be open to suggestions about other types of kind of pricing strategy, like, for example, maybe subscription, where a professional subscribes and receives like a new item every month, or perhaps some sort of like a bulk pricing, or maybe some other forms of pricing that are not just one fixed price, but instead something a little bit different. Would you be interested in those ideas? Is it something you would consider? I'm not sure if it's possible to offer that sort of pricing through Amazon, though they do allow now subscriptions as an option, but perhaps it is those people who come directly to you either through your website or in response to your emails or some other way. And have you maybe tried any of those?
Sorry. We have done a subscription-based product pricing before. It was called Prop Box, and we were the first in our industry to come up with it. And that was basically a monthly subscription where somebody would receive a customized product from us that is not on our website. So it was something, unique that we were making, such as a unique hat with a matching diaper cover, whatnot, that they would use. The issue with that is I think we had a $30 price point because we wanted to keep it low so most people could enjoy it and be feasible for them to spend that amount of money. The issues with that were we'd have people stating that, oh, well, I already have enough boy stuff or already have enough girl stuff. Also, this isn't the type of color that I use in my photography. or they were disappointed and felt like they should get more products for the $30 that they were spending.
Right.
So we were having cancellations for the program, and then it just became, kind of a pain to carry it on with a small amount of subscribers.
Right, I imagine. Plus, you did mention that you offer free shipping on orders over a certain amount, so that does affect price, right?
Yeah, we do that too. And then we also have a rewards program on our website. So for even like their birthday, or if they share something on Instagram, there's all different ways that they can earn points, which will then give them a discount. For example, if it's your birthday, I think you get a $10 store credit. So there's different ways that they can get money off, as well as every month in our Custom Photo Props Groupies page, which is a private group, we do a 1 to 2 day flash sale for a coupon code for like 25% off. So that's another way that somebody could save money.
We have received a few more questions here, but we're running out of time. There is only one that I would like to ask, and students ask it all the time. So you've been doing it for a few years, and you're basically your own boss. You manage your own company. Any regrets about going into basically business instead of having an 8-to-5 job? I assume they come from the point of view that it is a lot of stress and it is a lot of responsibility. And I suspect many of them want to have their own businesses. Maybe that's why the question. But if you could go back in time, would you prefer to have a corporate job from 8 till 5? Or?
No way. I love owning a business. And as stressful as it can be at sometimes, it's totally worth it. I mean, you have, relatively flexible schedule. Of course, it's going to take time to get to that point, where you don't have to work 7 days a week or whatnot. But as long as you don't mind putting in a lot of time and really grinding for, year 2, 3, whatever it may be. I'm in year 8 now, and a couple of weeks I'm going on vacation for 10 days, and I don't have a worry in the world because I know that my office manager can handle everything.
Right. Yeah, the biggest difference for me here is that if you work for a corporation, you're basically selling your time for money. And as a result, you can only make as much, there is a limit. So the company will never pay you more than, than what they can get away with. Whereas when you have your own business, at least you have a chance of perhaps, getting out of that cycle of selling time for money, and you can have some people working for you, and you can sometimes, have an opportunity to earn much more. So there is theoretically no limit. And it seems to me that especially while you're still young and have no mortgage, no family, it seems like it's definitely worth trying. Not to mention that companies will be much more interested in hiring you after you had your own business, even if you decided to go.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah. Well, anyway, we have another webinar in a few minutes, and I have to prepare for that one. So those of you who are in the late track, so this time we'll try to focus a little bit more on feedback, and so there was not much introduction, but we did have a webinar about a month ago that we recorded, and that one was purely the company introduction. So if you're in the late track, just watch the recording, and I strongly encourage you to do that. And then second, if you have more questions, and I see we still keep getting questions here, just email them to admin@xculture.org. If we know the answer, we will send you the answer right away. If we don't know the answer, we will send it to the company. The reason we don't give the contacts of the company anymore is because sometimes the companies get overwhelmed. There are thousands, literally thousands of you. Each of you asks one question, and it's like 2 working days just to reply to those emails. And so most of those questions are repetitive. And so we have an assistant who literally has a database of frequently asked questions. And so there is no need to bother busy executives each time you want to ask something. But we will answer them. And if it's something new, we will reach out to the company and get you the answer. So just send an email, and we'll have the answer within like a day or 2 for you. All right, well, thank you so much. And so, Carrie, I guess it will be again quiet for a few weeks, but then we will have a bunch of submissions from the early track, and then in about 9 weeks, even more from the late track. So hopefully there will be something useful there. So thank you so much, everyone, for participation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.